The stars shimmered above the warships like cold diamonds scattered across space. Dozens of massive vessels from Earth's United Fleet hung in orbit over Proxima Centauri b, their hulls glowing with readiness, weapons powered, shields at full strength. Inside the command deck of the UNS Resolute, Commander Alara Voss stood in silence, arms folded behind her back, watching the enemy through the wide viewing window. The alien ships, strange, dark shapes like spires and thorns, floated in a perfect formation. They didn't move. They didn't signal. They didn't even seem alive. They had just arrived. The fleet had called them the Silence, because every attempt to communicate had been met with nothing. No words. No lights. No response. "Alara," said Lieutenant Kai, her communications officer, breaking the silence on the bridge. "All frequencies open." Still nothing. Alara gave a small nod. "Keep monitoring." Her voice was calm, but inside, she was tense. Every instinct told her this was not normal. This was not a typical threat. The Silence had destroyed 3 outer colonies in the last 6 months, and no survivors had ever been found. The message had been clear. Humanity was under attack. And yet, now, with the enemy right in front of them, not a single alien ship had made a move. "Commander," came the voice of Admiral Solon over the fleet channel, crackling through the speakers. "All ships, weapons ready. Fire on my mark." Alara didn't respond right away. Her eyes stayed locked on the enemy fleet. They looked more like statues than ships. Some twisted and curved like broken tree branches. Others floated like needles. There were no visible engines. No lights. No energy spikes. Just quiet. "Commander Voss," Solon's voice repeated. "Do you copy?" "I copy," she answered at last. "Prepare to fire." Alara took a deep breath. She turned to her crew. "Hold your fire," she said quietly. Kai looked at her. "Commander." "Something's not right," Alara said. "Look at them. They're not moving. They're not reacting. They're not preparing anything. They're just there." Commander Darien from the UNS Hawk came through the channel. "Voss, this isn't the time to hesitate. You've seen what they did to the outposts." Alara didn't argue. She understood their fear. She felt it too. But she couldn't shake the feeling in her gut. This wasn't a trap. It wasn't a battle. It was a test. "I'm not going to fire first," she said. There was silence on the channel. The kind of silence that carried judgment. "You'll compromise the entire fleet," Solon snapped. "This is a direct order." "With all due respect, Admiral," Alara said calmly, "I advise caution. We don't know what they want. They haven't attacked. They're just watching." "Watching what?" Darien asked. Alara didn't have an answer. But she thought of the last time she ignored her instincts. 5 years ago, during the Helion incident, she followed protocol and launched preemptively. The enemy had been trying to signal surrender. The resulting explosion had killed thousands. She would not make the same mistake again. Her crew followed her command, even in silence. The other ships powered weapons, targeting the strange, motionless enemy. The tension was so thick it could be felt in the air, even in the vacuum of space. A minute passed. Then 2. The silence did nothing. Not a single alien ship moved. Not a flicker of energy. Not a sound. "Alara," Kai whispered, eyes wide. "What are they waiting for?" "I don't know," she said softly. "But neither are we." The fleet hovered at the edge of war. The humans waited, fingers over triggers. The aliens stared back with blank silence. And no one fired. Time passed slowly in the void. Minutes stretched into an hour. Still, the alien ships did not move. Commander Alara Voss stood at the center of the Resolute's command deck, her eyes never leaving the dark, silent enemy on the screen. They looked the same as they had when the fleet arrived, cold, jagged structures floating in a perfect grid, no visible life, no weapons raised, no reaction to the heavily armed human warships nearby. Behind her, the crew worked in tense silence. Lieutenant Kai monitored communication channels, his fingers dancing across the console, checking frequencies over and over. Commander Ryan, the tactical officer, kept weapons ready but looked frustrated. The bridge felt like it was holding its breath. "They're not doing anything," Ryan muttered. "This isn't natural." "I agree," Alara replied. "But if they wanted to attack, they would have. We've given them every reason." Another voice echoed through the fleet's channel. "This is Admiral Solon. Enough waiting. All ships, lock targets and prepare to fire." Before Alara could respond, Commander Darien of the Hawk spoke up. "Commander Voss is delaying this mission. She's putting us all at risk." Alara activated her mic. "With respect, we are assuming they're hostile based on past actions. But this isn't the same. They wiped out 3 colonies, Commander. Solon snapped. Or have you forgotten? I haven't, Alara said. But I also remember the Helion incident. We thought they were attacking then, too. Turned out they were signaling peace. There was a long pause on the channel. Don't make the same mistake, she added quietly. The silence that followed wasn't just between ships. It was the same deep, eerie stillness that came from the enemy. The alien fleet remained motionless, unblinking, unchanging. There was no sense of time and space, but the tension made every moment feel heavier. Suddenly, alarms on the Resolute blared. Commander! Kai shouted. The alien fleet. It's gone. Alara spun toward the main display. The dark spires had vanished. One moment, they were there, dozens of them, massive, looming, and the next, nothing. Just empty space. What happened? Alara asked sharply. I don't know, Kai stammered. All sensors confirm it. They're not cloaked. They're not hiding. They just disappeared. No warp trails, said Ran, scanning the data. No engine signatures. No debris. Nothing. Alara stared at the screen. That's impossible. Across the fleet, other commanders chimed in. This is Darien confirming. No contacts in grid. Solon here. Entire enemy fleet has vanished. No signs left behind. How can that be? Ran whispered. Alara didn't answer. She didn't know. She looked over the data scrolling on the screen. There was no explosion. No energy surge. Nothing that looked like a jump or a retreat. It was as if they had never been there. Did anyone fire? She asked. The channel fell silent. No, Solon admitted finally. We didn't fire. They just left. Alara leaned against the console, her mind racing. Why would they come all this way, face off with a human battle fleet, and then vanish without a fight? Commander, Kai said suddenly. I found something. A pulse. Just before they disappeared. What kind of pulse? Alara asked. Very low frequency. Barely registered. It only lasted a second. Was it a message? I don't know. Could be. Some kind of signal. Or a scan. It repeated once. Then silence. Send it to analysis, Alara said. And keep a copy for yourself. Kai nodded and got to work. On the screen, the starfield had returned to calm. No more alien shapes. Just cold, endless space. Alara stood quietly, feeling a strange heaviness settle over her. She had expected a fight. She had braced herself for war. But what she got was something else entirely. Not peace. Not battle. Just absence. They were watching us, she murmured. Ran frowned. Watching for what? I'm not sure, she said. But maybe, for what we would do. No one spoke. In that moment, Commander Alara Voss understood something she couldn't yet explain. The silence was not here to destroy. They were here to observe. The command deck of the UNES Resolute was filled with a low hum of systems at work, but the air was thick with confusion. The enemy fleet, the massive, silent formation of alien ships, was gone. Not destroyed. Not warped away. Just gone, without leaving a trace. Commander Alara Voss stood motionless, her eyes scanning the empty screen in front of her. It was hard to believe. Only minutes ago, they were preparing for war. Dozens of alien ships had surrounded the planet. Now, the fleet stared at a black sky filled with stars and nothing else. Are we absolutely sure? Alara asked without turning. Lieutenant Kai nodded quickly. Confirmed by all long-range sensors, ma'am. No gravitational anomalies. No warp signatures. No energy trails. It's like they were never here. Ran, the tactical officer, added, and all ships in the fleet confirmed the same. They're gone. Everywhere. Alara slowly sat in her chair, the weight of what happened starting to settle in. She could see it on her crew's faces too, confusion, disbelief, and a growing unease. This wasn't victory. It didn't feel like peace, either. It felt like being judged and left behind. She opened the fleet-wide channel. This is Commander Voss of the Resolute. Can anyone explain what we just witnessed? A pause. Then came Admiral Solon's voice, sounding stiff. We've lost all contact with the alien fleet. No signs remain. All data shows a clean disappearance. I repeat, we did not fire. Commander Darien of the Hawk cut in. It was a show of force. They saw our strength and chose to leave. Maybe they realized we weren't afraid to defend ourselves. Alara disagreed, but she didn't argue, yet. Commander Darien, if that were the case, why didn't they respond in any way? Why not even a warning? They're not human, Voss. Maybe that was their warning. No, Alara said softly, mostly to herself. It was something else. She turned to Kai. What about that pulse you mentioned? Before they vanished? Kai pulled it up again. Right here. A single, low-frequency burst. Too structured to be background radiation, but not complex enough to be a full message. Repeated once. Then silence. Could it be a scan? Possibly, Kai said. Or a response to something we did, or didn't do. Alara's thoughts turned inward. The pulse happened before the disappearance. No ships had fired. She had told her crew to hold. Could that have triggered it? She glanced back at the viewing screen. Still nothing. Just stars. Download the signal and mark the timestamp, she said. Send a copy to Fleet Analysis and keep one local. Yes, Commander. Rand leaned in. You think that signal was a reaction to us? I think, Alara said carefully. They were watching. Studying. Waiting to see what choice we would make. You think they left because we didn't fire? It's possible. Rand frowned. That's strange. Wouldn't they expect a fight? Maybe they wanted to see if we would start one, she said. The silence on the bridge stretched long again. It wasn't the emptiness of space, it was the weight of the unknown. Alara tapped her console, reading the mission log, running it back through her mind. Every step, every scan, every moment. No aggression, no warning, just presence and then disappearance. She opened a private log to record her thoughts. Mission log, Commander Alaravos. Date, March 19th, 2276. Location, Proxima Centauri orbit. Subject, encounter with unidentified alien fleet. Designation, the Silence. Summary, enemy fleet held position in orbit for 92 minutes. No communications, no hostile movement. Fleet command prepared to fire. No shots were taken. At timestamp 92:08, all enemy contacts vanished simultaneously. No physical or energy evidence remains. A low-frequency pulse was recorded 17 seconds prior to disappearance. Hypothesis: fleet behavior was observational. Motivation unknown. Further study required. She paused, then typed. Personal note: I believe we were being tested. She closed the log. Admiral Solin's voice returned over the comm. Fleet will remain in orbit for 12 more hours to monitor the situation. No aggressive action unless provoked. All ships are to review sensor logs and submit findings. Voss, your decision not to engage may have bought us time, but next time, we may not be so lucky. Alara didn't reply. She simply nodded to herself. Was it luck? Or something else? Later, when most of the crew had calmed down, she walked the corridors of the ship alone. The cold walls and soft hum of the engines were familiar, but something felt different now. She thought about what it meant for the enemy to vanish without conflict, for a war not fought, and a message not spoken. What kind of intelligence operated like that? What kind of test had they just passed or failed? She stopped at a window and stared out at the stars. For the first time in her life, she felt the full weight of what it meant to be seen by something beyond human understanding, and to not be answered. The stillness inside the Resolute was deeper than before. The battle that never came had left behind something strange and unsettling quiet that followed the crew like a shadow. People weren't talking much. They moved through the halls like they were waiting for something to happen. Something worse. Commander Alaravos stood again on the bridge. The stars outside twinkled peacefully, mocking the tension she felt in her chest. The enemy had vanished. No trace, no reason, no communication. The mystery gnawed at her. It wasn't just about what happened. It was about why it had happened. Lieutenant Kai sat at his station, still going through data logs. He hadn't rested since the disappearance. Anything new? Alara asked, stepping beside him. Kai shook his head slowly. Same pulse signal. No changes. But I ran it through a pattern filter. I think it might be mirroring us. She raised an eyebrow. Mirroring? Yes, he said, pointing to a screen. This signal, it's not random. It's a repeat of part of our own outgoing transmission. The greeting we sent. Alara leaned closer. So it was listening and responding. Just once. And right after that, they vanished. Alara felt her heart tighten. Do you think it was a test? Kai hesitated. I don't know. But they didn't come here to fight. I think they wanted to see how we would react to them. And we didn't attack. Maybe that was the point. Rand approached from across the deck. Commander, Admiral Solin is requesting a private briefing. High priority. All commanders. Alara nodded. Patch it to the ready room. Inside the briefing room, a hollow table lit up with the faces of the other fleet commanders. Admiral Solin stood at the head of the display, his voice as sharp as ever. We've reviewed every sensor log, every signal. No trace of the alien fleet remains. Our science teams confirmed the low-frequency pulse was sent deliberately. The pattern matches a partial reflection of our own transmission. Are you suggesting they copied us? Asked Commander Darien, looking skeptical. Solon nodded. Exactly. A mirror signal. No message, just reflection. So they were mimicking us, Darien said. Still doesn't explain why they disappeared. They didn't come to destroy us, Alara said. They came to see us. Solon narrowed his eyes. Go on. Alara continued, her voice steady. Think about it. They showed up without warning. No communication. No weapons raised. Just presence. They gave us time to react. We didn't fire. And then they vanished. Darien folded his arms. Maybe they were just measuring our strength, then decided it wasn't worth the fight. Or maybe, Alara said firmly, they were measuring something else. Our intent. Silence followed her words. The commanders exchanged glances. You're saying we were being judged, Solon said slowly. I'm saying, Alara replied, that maybe they've seen species like us before. Maybe they've watched others respond with violence. But we didn't. Maybe that mattered. Darien scoffed. That's guesswork. Everything about this is guesswork, she said, keeping her tone calm. But this is the first time an alien force approached without firing first. The first time they left without a fight. That's worth thinking about. Solon didn't reply immediately. Finally, he nodded. Continue analyzing the signal. If there's more buried in it, we need to know. The briefing ended, and Alara returned to the bridge. Later, alone in her quarters, she stared at the recorded pulse again. It repeated in a slow, steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. A copy of a human greeting. Not words, but not nothing, either. She closed her eyes, thinking. What kind of intelligence simply showed up, waited, and left? Was it curious? Was it ancient? Or was it warning them? Rand entered without knocking. Sorry to interrupt, Commander. There's something you need to see. She followed him back to the bridge. The entire crew had gathered around the main display. Look at this, Kai said, zooming in on the last frame recorded before the alien fleet vanished. A tiny light, barely visible, tucked in the corner of the star's cape. What is it? Alara asked. Not sure, Kai replied. But it wasn't there before. It showed up the second the pulse ended. Alara stared at the light. It didn't move, didn't blink, just floated at the edge of sensor range. Mark the coordinates, she said. We'll keep watch. That night, if it could be called night in space, she wrote another log. Mission log, Commander Alaravas. The silence did not seek war. They sought something else. We don't know what. But they looked at us and chose to leave. Maybe that was the real message. Not every threat is a weapon. Not every silence is empty. Some silences are waiting for an answer. She looked up at the stars one more time. Something was out there. Watching. Waiting. And they had passed its test. For now. For 2 days, the fleet stayed in orbit around Proxima Centauri b. The alien ships had vanished, and no further signs of them returned. But no one felt at ease. Something hung in the air, like a puzzle left unsolved or a warning without words. Every officer, every ship, kept one eye on the stars. Commander Alaravas didn't sleep much. She reviewed the pulse over and over. It was brief, strange, and haunting. A reflection of their own signal. A mirror. Nothing more, but far from meaningless. Kai, her communications officer, was just as restless. He had pulled every enhancement tool the ship had to examine the data. And now, in the early hours of ship time, he finally saw something. Commander, he said, standing beside her in the dark of the bridge. You need to see this. Alara stepped beside him, rubbing her eyes. What is it? The pulse. I overlaid it with the coordinates of the last light we detected. He tapped a few buttons. There's a pattern embedded. It's faint, deliberate. Not a message, more like a direction. Alara leaned in. On the screen, a star map shimmered. Lines connected between bursts of signal. At first, they seemed random, but then a set of coordinates formed, somewhere far beyond the edge of known space. Coordinates? She asked. Yes, Kai said. This system, it's not mapped. But based on trajectory, it's at least 30 light-years beyond the farthest human reach. Alara stared at the spot. It's like they dropped a trail and waited to see if we'd notice. Rand walked up behind them. Or it's bait. A trap. Maybe, Alara said. But it doesn't feel like one. Since when do you trust feelings over logic? Rand asked. Since the enemy showed up, stared us in the face, and left without saying a word. They stood in silence. Alara finally turned to Kai. Send the coordinates to the rest of the fleet. Mark the signal source and file it under potential points of interest. Already done, Kai replied. A fleet-wide meeting was called hours later. All commanders appeared on a secure holochannel. Most looked tired. Some looked annoyed. Alara briefed them on the discovery. It's a destination, she explained. Not a message. Just a place. Left for us. Admiral Solon narrowed his eyes. And you believe we should follow it? I believe they left it for a reason. We have a chance to understand them without war. Commander Darien shook his head. Or they're luring us out, one ship at a time. Divide and conquer. This reeks of a setup. We don't know that, Alara said calmly. We also don't know if we'll ever get another chance to understand what they are. What they want. Silence followed. Solon finally spoke. The United Fleet cannot risk a full expedition into unknown territory. But I won't stop any vessel from investigating this on their own authority. Alara already knew what she would do. I'm taking the Resolute, she said. I'll go. Rayan didn't object. He simply gave a short nod. Kai, beside him, looked nervous but determined. Commander Delaney of the UNS Aurora spoke next. I'll follow, but only with a skeleton crew. Then Commander Mahir of the Pioneer added, we'll join you. This may be the only time we ever get this close. 3 ships. Out of 26. The rest stayed behind. Alara respected their choice. She understood the fear. The unknown was rarely kind. A day later, the Resolute, the Aurora, and the Pioneer separated from the fleet. Their destination, the mystery hidden in the coordinates left behind. The launch was quiet. No ceremony. No fanfare. Just 3 ships slipping into the dark, engines glowing against the black. On the bridge, Alara watched as the stars shifted around them. The jump would take time, even with advanced engines. But it was more than distance, it was the leap itself. From reaction to discovery. From fear to choice. She sat in her command chair and recorded a new log. Personal log, Commander Alara Voss. I don't know what we'll find. I don't know what they want from us. But they gave us a question. And I believe we owe it to ourselves to find the answer. Restraint may have been our first message to the galaxy. This may be the reply. She looked at the crew around her, loyal, alert, quiet. We jump in 60 seconds, Rand said. Everyone ready? Alara asked. Kai gave a thumbs up. Rand gave her a firm nod. She looked at the stars one last time, then said, engage. The Resolute slipped forward, disappearing into the unknown. The stars outside the Resolute stretched and twisted as the ship traveled through slip space. Inside the bridge, everything was quiet. The crew had grown used to the hum of faster-than-light travel, but today it felt different, heavier. The kind of silence that wasn't just about sound, but about what waited at the end of the journey. Commander Alara Voss stood by the viewing window, watching the warped starlight. She had no idea what they were about to find. But she knew this. If the silence had meant to destroy them, they would have. Instead, they had left behind a signal. A location. A choice. And Alara had made hers. Approaching destination, Lieutenant Kai said from his station. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly. Dropping out of slip space in 10 seconds. Alara nodded. Full sensor sweep the moment we arrive. Shields up. No weapons. Yes, Commander. Jump complete in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The ship jolted softly as it exited slip space. The stars snapped back into place. Before them, a massive planet came into view. Dark, smooth, and perfectly round. No continents, no oceans. It didn't look like any natural world they had ever seen. It was black, almost reflective, with faint geometric lines glowing across its surface. Rand stepped forward. What is that? Kai zoomed in on the surface. No atmosphere. No rotation. But it's emitting a low-band energy field. Artificial. Definitely not a planet. The Aurora and Pioneer emerged from slip space behind them, forming a loose triangle in orbit around the structure. Open a channel, Alara said. Kai nodded. Channel open. All ships listening. This is Commander Voss. We've reached the coordinates. What we're seeing is not a star system. It's a construct. Purpose unknown. But if this was left for us, then this is our answer. Or the next question. A moment passed before Commander Delaney replied. No signs of weapons. No movement. Just waiting. Alara stood still, eyes locked on the massive black sphere in front of them. Let's get closer, she said. Slow approach. No sudden moves. As the Resolute crept forward, the lines on the structure began to glow brighter. Not flashing, not threatening, just a slow, pulsing light, like a breath. The same rhythm as the pulse they had received before. Kai's eyes widened. It's the same pattern. The exact same pulse, just visual now. Could it be communication? Rand asked. Or recognition, Alara said. It knows we came. Then something happened. A panel on the surface of the black sphere slowly opened. Inside was nothing but light, soft, blue, calm. It wasn't a hangar or a weapon port. It looked more like a door. An invitation. The Aurora and Pioneer held position, waiting for orders. Alara took a deep breath. We're not here to conquer or fear. We're here to learn. She activated the comm again. All ships, hold orbit. Resolute will proceed inside. If we don't return, record everything. Rand turned to her. You're going in? I have to, she said. They didn't bring war. Neither will we. With careful precision, the Resolute moved toward the opening. As it passed through the glowing doorway, no resistance met them. No defenses. No barriers. Inside, the ship was surrounded by soft light and silence, so complete, it felt like time had stopped. Inside the core, a holographic projection formed. It wasn't a being, not a message. It was a memory. Images played out like dreams, other species across time. Alien civilizations. Some fighting. Some destroyed. Some surviving. And one constant, the silence, watching, waiting. Then the image changed again. This time, it showed Earth. Humanity. The United Fleet. The standoff at Proxima Centauri. The moment Alara ordered her ships not to fire. Then darkness. And then one simple image, a branching path. Alara stepped forward, eyes fixed on the vision. They're not judges, she whispered. They're historians. Archivists. Observers. Rand nodded slowly. They've seen this before. Other species. Other moments. And they wait, she said, to see which road we take. The light began to dim. The door behind them remained open. No voice told them what to do. No hand reached out. But the message was clear. You've been seen. You chose peace. That was enough, for now. Alara turned to her crew. Take us out. The Resolute backed away from the structure. Once they were clear, the door sealed shut, and the glowing lines faded into darkness once again. Back in open space, the three ships drifted in silence. Alara opened one final log. Mission log, final entry. We found no enemy here. Only a mirror. They showed us who we are and who we might become. We were not punished. We were not welcomed. We were watched. Judged not by strength, but by choice. In the end, we chose restraint. And someone, somewhere, decided that was enough to let us go on. I don't know if they'll return. But if they do, I hope we're ready not with weapons, but with wisdom. She looked out at the stars. Set course for Earth, she said quietly. We have a story to tell. The stars stretched once more as the ship jumped away.